I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Emma Last. Some of you might know me as the Education Manager at the DAX Centre, and at the moment I'm the Acting Director at the DAX Centre as well. I'd like to warmly welcome Adam Knapper and his partner Blair Altenbass. There you are, down the back. Nice to see you. Adam, thank you to Adam's family and friends for coming along tonight. You know who you are and where you are. Thank you also to the members of the DAX board for being here, to the DAX staff, and thank you to everyone for coming along tonight and making it a really special night for everybody that's involved. Thank you. I'd also like to acknowledge that we are on the land of the Wurundjeri people, who are the custodians of this land. Welcome tonight to Imaginarium. This exhibition has been a collaboration between the artist Adam Knapper, with the help of his partner Blair, and also with Deb Zipper, who's an Education Officer at the DAX Centre, and also Lisa Gluck from the DAX Centre, who's the Curator here. It's the third in the DAX Centre's program of solo exhibitions, which bring into focus aspects of mental health and art, looking particularly at these themes in relation to the work of a particular artist. The DAX Centre uses art to create an understanding of the lived experience and to reduce the stigma of mental illness. In this exhibition, you'll notice that we don't talk about diagnosis. This is an exhibition by an artist about really the joy and the craft of art, and how art making can be vital to a sense of well-being. These artworks are bright, they're vibrant, they're energetic. We love having them here, despite some of them being created during very difficult times. It gives me great pleasure now to introduce Humphrey Clegg, who will officially open this exhibition. And I'm going to go into bio mode for you, Humphrey, so everybody, just take a moment. Humphrey has worked at the National Gallery of Victoria since 2004 and in the Australian Art Department since 2006. He's been involved in the curation of a number of important exhibitions, such as Australian Impressionism and Eugene Ongarad, Nature Revealed at the National Gallery of Victoria, and the National Gallery of Australia's Fred Williams Infinite Horizons exhibition. We've approached Humphrey to give this address tonight, as he has seen Adam's work on two previous occasions as a judge for the Mental Health Foundation of Australia Art Competition. Humphrey awarded Adam with the winning work with question and answer in 2011 and a recommendation for Mind, Body, Spirit in 2012, both of which are hanging in this exhibition, Imaginarium. We warmly welcome Humphrey Clegg, and I'm really thrilled that he can say some words tonight about this exhibition, Imaginarium, and Adam Knapper. Thank you, Humphrey.
Can you give me loud enough? Okay, we've got some notes. First of all, I'd just like to say it's a great privilege to open Adam's show. It's a very strong show, and it's a great privilege. I hope this isn't going to turn into too much of an art history lesson, but because you probably all know enough, but I felt that it was, instead of sort of talking about anything, I'd just talk about where I think these works fit in and what I think of when I look at them. And the first thing I think of really is, to go right back to the 19th century, is that divide between Melbourne and Sydney. And the divide in art is huge. In Melbourne, we're a little bit more poetic. We have the Impressionists in the 19th century. In Sydney, they don't have a strong school of oil painters as much as we do in Melbourne, but they do have a really strong illustrative magazine book culture. And so a lot of the artists like Charles Condra and things like that make their way up the ranks of their training producing drawings for book. Now this is important to the 20th century because when Impressionism when the First World War ends, and people start looking for new ways, modernism jumps up, and Melbourne, being quite conservative, doesn't really shift fast enough. In the 1940s, we're still painting those kind of same landscape pictures. And that's a bit of a problem because art is supposed to innovate, art is supposed to push boundaries, art is supposed to, well, I think, challenge us in new ways and make us think differently. So in Sydney, modernism flies up and you see these great colourful experiments and things like that. They're experimenting with music and colour, and it's all very exciting. Poor Melbourne's sort of struggling with its own battles. Fred Williams and John Brack bring us up to speed in the 50s a little bit, but it's still quite conservative, I'd say, if you think of Fred's and John's work. It's not until the last 30 years, I think, that Melbourne has had the real shock that it needed. And that shock can only happen, and the shock happened in a major way, and it's through street art. Street art is all about challenging conventions. It's all about saying, you built that wall, you own that wall, I'm from the street and I'm probably nothing compared to the wall, but I can change that wall. And you might not like the way I changed the wall, but I'm going to do it anyway. So it's about thinking about things in new ways and reinterpreting and reimagining space. That's my first bit. And that's why I love Adam's street work here. I wrote a thesis on street art in 2002 or something, so I'm quite passionate about it. But the important thing about it as well is that, especially this show, we see the work on the street in the film, which is, I advise you all to look at, and the work on the wall, because you can't take street art and make it a commodity. Because the moment you do that, then it belongs to the dominant system, because it can be traded for profit. Am I making sense? Street art belongs on the wall and it's temporary in many ways. So when you come to make artworks in a gallery space, you can take a lot of the premises and a lot of the ideas of street art and relay them onto the canvas. And that's what I think is really exciting about Melbourne right now and exciting about Adam's work. Where are we up to? So Melbourne street art, I think, is strong in Melbourne because it is so conservative. There's a lot to rally against in Melbourne. There was, now it's pretty common. The things that I like, the things that I think of when I look at Adam's work, particularly these ones over here, is the loss of perspective in many ways. You don't have a landscape, there's nothing that grounds you. It reminds me of the futurists and the constructivists from the Russian avant-garde at the beginning of the 20th century. They didn't want you to look at the canvas and go, this is the bottom, this is the top. They wanted you, and I'm looking into it, they wanted you to think, maybe I'm looking at it from the top, maybe I'm looking at it from the side. They wanted you to think in 3 dimensions, not in 2 dimensions, and to use your imagination when you approach it. Fred Williams wants you to do the same thing with his fabulous pictures from the 50s through to his death in the 1980s. Surrealism is another thing that I think of when I look at these works. And I love the methane picture over here. I think it's fabulous because, of course, the first thing I saw was cows in a green field, and then I realised they were flying. But it's that idea that they could be doing both, which is the really sort of great appeal of that work. That idea that your imagination can be free to do whatever you want it to do is what art is about, if you ask me. So if that's what art is about, what makes a good artist? Fred Williams says that it's very easy to put paint onto a canvas, but it's very, very difficult to put it on exactly how you want. And the hardest thing to do is to put a little paint on the canvas. If you look at, I was really struck when I saw the show last week by Adam's work, the drawing of the woman, which might be 6 or 7 lines. To present that level of sensuality and beauty with such little mark making is a true skill. It's something that everyone struggles with, and every artist should struggle with throughout their career, I think. The other thing that my good friend, or one of my good friends is John Brack. She's amazing, but she's this artist. She's John Brack's wife, but she's also this amazing artist who looks at pictures. You take her to an opening, or you go to an opening, and she doesn't talk to anybody, she just looks at all the pictures, and she's deconstructing them and thinking them through. She does this wonderful thing where you flip, you put a colour here and you flip the colours through, and this colour changes even though it's staying still, because whatever you put it next to, it shifts its perception. And one of the great skills of an artist is to understand those colour relationships and how they change your perception of what you're looking at. And I think Adam's use of colour, because colour is not an easy thing to work with, is excellent. And that comes down to understanding materials as well. It's very easy to just think oil painting is the way and there's to paint an oil picture, but to use acrylic because it presents the way you want it to present is the important choice of an artist. There is no one correct medium with art, it's whatever you like, as long as you use it effectively to communicate your ideas. And I think the final thing find two things, and I think they're intertwined, is dedication and hard work. There's no artist that's ever been successful without working hard, and there's no artist that's ever been successful without being really, really dedicated. And you can see through the long career that Adam's had and the amount of work that he puts into it, he's obviously very dedicated and works very hard. So Adam, congratulations. Your work is very good. Your show is wonderful.
So much, Humphrey. Finally, I'd just like to add that the DAC Centre is all about understanding our mental health, my mental health, your mental health, through artwork. We look at these artworks and we step into the world of the artists and we hear their stories and what they want to know, want to tell us about their experience of mental illness, difficulties, despair, sadness, of enjoyment, of courage,